Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back to the Bar Talk podcast. Right here, coming through your headphones, your airwaves, or your phone speaker on the train, maybe, annoying all the other passengers. Actually, no, you wouldn't annoy any of the other passengers because that song was epic. And, I'm sure all the other commuters were really, really, really happy that you're playing everything out loud to them. Anyway, that was Bring It All Back off Leanne Tenant's brand new album, Happiness Is. And I'm so pleased because I've got her on the line right now to have a little chat about the album and everything else, I guess. So I guess it's time to say welcome, Leanne. How you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Brilliant.
I'm super keen to finally get this done. This was supposed to be done a couple of weeks back when we originally interviewed, on the same day we interviewed Colin Lilly, which I know you two have worked together previously, but I'm finally happy to get around to it because I've really been enjoying the album over the last few weeks listening to it. It's got a slew of really solid tracks on it. And you can tell that you've released quite a few singles for it as well. But you must be pretty proud of it now. As they say, third time's a charm. This is your third album, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, yeah. And, yeah, I am really proud of it. It's a couple of years in the making, this one, and I just kind of went at it with my all, and I'd spent a lot of time thinking about what songs were and weren't going to be on the album. So it was, a lot of thought went into it.
Right. Okay, so tell me a bit about that because, as you said, you spent 2 years writing, 2 years putting it together. Was that a lot more time that you'd focused on a single album compared to your previous releases?
Yeah, it was. And instead of kind of going into the studio and recording the whole album in a block of days or a week, I kind of flew, because I recorded in Brisbane and I'm up in Cairns, so I flew down to Brisbane every couple of months and did, one track and then came back home and then flew down again. So all of that was quite spaced out, which was really nice because it gave me a bit of space from it all and, kind of go back with fresh ears and fresh thoughts for the next track. And I really enjoyed that process instead of it being, trying to push it all out in a short amount of time.
So is that the intention from the start, to do that back and forth thing, one track at a time?
Yeah, my intention was to take it easy. I just wanted to not rush anything. And I really enjoy the recording process. It's my favourite part about making music, and I just wanted to experience it for as long as possible. So I was in no rush to get it finished and out there. I just wanted to be in the studio as much as possible. So yeah, it was my intention to drag it out, and then because of COVID, it got dragged out a little bit further.
That's not a unique thing. That's very much the same with everyone else, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Do you think that was a blessing though, having it drop in the middle of a pandemic, or did it ruin all your plans?
Well, releasing it at this time is difficult because you can't tour the album and all the shows are still, you reschedule one and then it gets cancelled because it's a forever changing beast. But it isn't the best time to put out an album. But I guess in saying that, people are at home a lot more and hopefully listening to music. So that's great. I think it was a blessing in disguise to hold off the touring because it's given me a bit of a break as well, which has been really nice.
Yeah.
And now I'm really excited to get back into playing some shows. So yeah, it's got its good and bad bits.
Because I know you've had a fair bit of critical success with your releases over the years, but you mentioned about the fact that with the pandemic, people have more time to sit down and listen to the album. So what I wanted to know was, have just like the general public and your fans and people that I guess come across your music, have you found the response to this album has been different from those previous albums?
It's been a really strong response. I've had a lot of great support from, I guess people who liked my previous work, but then also a lot of new people coming on board as well. So it's been, a really, really great response to this album, which is nice because you just don't know, whether people will resonate with something or not. And people seem to be liking it. So yeah, happy days.
What about a particular track on the album has have people drawn your attention to a track that maybe you hadn't sort of viewed in the same light that other people have when you were going in to record it?
People have really resonated with record stores, which I wasn't sure whether people would necessarily, whether it would be a standout track or anything, but people have been resonating with that. And then I think another one that people, that wasn't a single that people are enjoying is Overthinker. Yeah. And, I'm getting a lot of feedback about people saying that that's one of their favorites. So that's really nice when people find, songs nestled within the album that aren't a single and, get a buzz out of it. It's nice.
Yeah, because we sort of got that similar. We had the similar experience because the first song it sort of grabbed our attention about the record was Record Stores, and what I found that it sits smack bang in the middle of the record, and it sort of almost serves as like an emotional focal point for the album because you've got a lot of bangers that have quite a lot more layers of production on them. I'm thinking you got more of this other singles such as Bring It All Back, which of course you just heard, with that really funky liquidy bass and a lot more electric guitar work, and obviously other songs that are later down in the track listing which do have quite a bit more swell to them. So I found that's that quieter sort of middle ground. It seems to focus your attention a bit on, I guess, what message perhaps you were trying to put out for the album. And I don't know what that message was, what your conscious intention was, but it certainly sounds like a centerpiece to the whole album. So I'm not surprised that people have really been drawn to that particular track. Yeah,
and I think it felt right, it being right in the middle of the album like that. And I think just to break up, because as you say, there is a lot of production on these tracks. I worked with 2 different producers as well, so there's a lot of movement in there. And then to have, the raw stripped back thing, which does kind of connect back to some of my earlier stuff. Yeah. It kind of ties in the new with the old, which is, good for people who really loved my old stuff and, not scare people away too much with the new stuff.
Because this is a bit more ambitious, sonically speaking, than your previous albums. From what I can see, the previous albums were a lot more stripped back, as you say, and then this one's got a little bit more of the electronic elements creeping in on a couple of the tracks. So was that the intention from the get-go?
Yes and no. So I was working with 2 different producers, which was the intention, and I had one in mind for Cherry Cola specifically, and then the other producer, I approached it in more of a traditional sense, where performing with a live band in a studio, which is how I've always approached recording. But then as I flew back and forth and went down there, and I was constantly writing as well. So there were new songs that would appear, and I would think, that song really needs to be approached in a much more, produced way. And so it just kind of developed really organically like that. And then in the end, there were some songs that didn't end up making the album, but in the end, it was a fair kind of split down the middle, where half of the songs I'd written, they just wouldn't have sounded right playing them with a live band. I just couldn't have achieved what I was wanting. And then the other songs just would have sounded not right with loads and loads of production on them. So, 4 were with Constantine, and the other 5, I think, or 5 were with Constantine, and the other 4 were with Yanto Browning. So, it was I'd never done that before, and I really liked working with a couple of different people.
Yeah, so this was, you mentioned, they're both based in Brisbane, these 2 producers?
Yeah.
So how did you find corresponding with them when you moved back up, or when you've, traveled back up to Cairns for the couple of months? What's it like working remotely between your home and the studio?
Well, it was fairly easy because the songs had been done. I'd get them finished in a day, and then when I'd come home, the producer would do his magic, which a lot had been already done in the studio while I was there anyway. But, you know, some kind of final tweaking and then sending that over to me to see, you know, if I liked it or if I wanted things changed or added and things like that. So a little bit of back and forthing, but not excessive. We tried to get everything done while we were there, which was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you mean that, do you mean any extra instrumentation or just post effects? You know, a layer here or a bit of reverb there.
Yeah, more so effects. And, you know, with the more the tracks that have a lot more production on them, you know, a couple of things might come into mind, like put a sound in there. But generally, a lot of that was happening in the studio while I was there, able to kind of vibe off each other as to whether we're liking something or not. So, yeah, it's more kind of post effects.
So I'm getting the understanding then that because you had these breaks in between recording songs, that you could walk into the studio when you travelled down and you were just intent and keen on knocking them out, even, you know, because it been you know, a couple of months between songs. Am I getting that? Am I gauging that correctly?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like just really excited to be in there, and because it's tiring. And if you know, the way that I've recorded in the past, which is, you know, you go into the studio for 5 days back to back, and if you're exhausted at the end of it, it's, you know, and it just uses so much mental power because you're trying to get it perfect, and you're just so all consumed by it. So it was really nice having the breaks and, you know, go down to Brisbane because that's where I'm originally from, and go and see my mum and dad and my friends, and, you know, a bit of a trip away as well. So it's definitely a way that I'd like to approach the next album for sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like then that you could maintain that level of energy through the whole project, which you can certainly tell when you give it a listen. There's no sort of downers. It's all, you certainly, there's like the performance on each song is certainly consistent.
Yeah, it definitely helps with the energy levels.
So all of the songs were written before you started recording or not?
No, so most of them were, and then a couple was kind of half finished, and then they got there after I started recording, because I think, which one did I do first? I think Cherry Cola was the very first one I recorded.
Yeah.
And that was quite some time between recording that and recording the other songs. So there was still a lot of writing going on. But then once I started getting into the studio a little bit more, then I had to settle on what was being recorded, and, so a bit of both.
Nice. Yeah, so, I mean, we'll get on to a bit more about the depths behind, I guess, what the album's trying to say in a little while. But right now we're going to play – so right now we're going to play one of the tracks off the album. It hasn't been released as a single yet, I don't believe, but it certainly stood out for me just for the way that it layers up and starts to build up as you proceed through the song. So I thought we'd play Blue and Gold, which is one of the later tracks on the album. So I was hoping maybe you could give us a bit of a rundown on, I guess, how the song came about, or potentially what you were thinking when you were getting around to penning it.
Yeah, so Blue and Gold's kind of about my overactive brain and the difficulties that I face sometimes getting to sleep at night. Because I just lie there and my brain spins. And so it was kind of about that, and Blue and Gold, the line, last night's sheets are like blue and gold, and it's kind of about, you know, just dreaming of being cuddled up in my bed sheets and just kind of gazing up at the blue sky and the glittery gold stars. You know, that's kind of what that song's about. And it came together really easily, that song. I didn't spend, you know, loads and loads of time agonizing over it. So it's nice when a song does that. And that was recorded with Yanto Browning in Brisbane out at Airlock Studios, and Cram from Spiderbait was on that track as well, playing drums.
Nice,
and, the Wurlitzer, and he was running around.
That's what it was. It's like it's very nice bit of keys there on that one. Yeah, it is. It's great. So that was fun. Yeah, that was so that was one of the tracks recorded in more of like a live setting. So the sort of the live studio setting, everything's set up, ready to go. All right, let's run through it.
That's right.
And again, was that one of those songs you mentioned that, was it one of those songs you were intending to go, oh, this will be a live song, this will work really well in that band setting when we get around to touring?
Yeah, 100%. It was actually one of the earlier songs that I'd written, and I originally felt that I was going to release that as a single, and then just after all the other songs came about, it just it got pushed back a little bit, and I went another way. But yeah, it was always in my head. It was always, I listened to a lot of Black Keys, and I don't know, I was just kind of channeling some of that
bit of blues influence.
Vibe. Yeah, and a bit more rockier sound, and live it's great fun to play.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, let's play it, because then we'll come back and chat maybe a bit more about that sort of topic and what was going on behind the scenes and all that sort of thing. But we'll play it right now, because it is called Blue and Gold off the brand new album Happiness Is by Leanne Tenant. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back on Bar Talk. All right. Well, welcome back. That was Blue and Gold. One of Leanne Tennant's, one of the songs off Leanne Tennant's new album, Happiness Is. As you well know, I've got Leanne right here with me, chatting about the album and all things, I guess, recording and, music related. I don't know. I could be terrible at segues sometimes, Leanne. Again, great track. Certainly one of the many standouts on the album. You mentioned before how you had, of course, Cram from Spiderbait featuring on the album. It's good to know you did play with a really large slew of talented musicians to put, to get these songs together. Obviously, Cram, people like Travis Jenkins, Phil Roach, etc. So was that an intention to sort of really draw upon a well of talent and names to get this out there?
Well, the boys that came into the studio, we have been performing together as a live act now for a couple of years. So it was kind of a no-brainer that's who would be in the studio. And Cram, that kind of came about because he was doing it was like a competition or something, and he chose one person from each state and flew them down to Bruny Island in Tasmania, and we all just bunkered up in a cabin and wrote songs together for a week, and then we performed them, played in each other's bands at Festival of Voices in Hobart. So it was just dream. It was amazing. It was still to date one of the best experiences of my life.
So Bruny Island, really going for the remote factor there.
It was incredible. We'd wake up, there was someone staying with us that cooked all our meals, and just woke up in the morning in this beautiful spot and just plugged the guitars into the amps and just mucked around all day playing in each other's bands, and then just go and stand out by the fire and drink some whiskey and go back inside. And we just did that for a week. It was just incredible. And we all got along really well. All of the people that were there were just amazing, and we're still very, very close and in touch to this day. But Cram, kind of said to all of us, if you're ever recording, that he'd love to be a part of it. So, he wanted to jump in on the album, and it was great. He came in for a couple of the songs on the album, and we had a lot of fun. So that was kind of really organic. And then, as I said, the other guys I do perform live with when they're available. And then Constantine with the production roles, he did a lot of some of the instrumentation himself, as well as Travis Jenkins and Eddie. And but they are, supremely talented beings. So I'm very lucky to have had their skill set on the album, because they're much better musicians than I will ever be. So
that's all right. You can't with the songs, so it's a bit of a balancing act.
You can only do one thing at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, you got to nail the one thing you're good at. Yeah.
That's right.
With that, so I mean, that's a really cool thing though, getting there and locking yourself in a cabin for a little while and then just pumping out some creativity. I like that idea. Where I was going to say you've had So I mean, how does somebody come up with an idea like that? Are you just like, let's go down to Tassie for a few weeks and just lock ourselves in a cabin? That just must be,
Oh, it's just so cool. I'm just still pinching myself that I got to do something like that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you would ever do the Bon Iver and lock yourself in a cabin, do the album like without any outside influences, and see how that goes?
I would love to, but unfortunately, I've got 2 kids now, and a job as well on the side. Yeah. So it's whilst it sounds amazing, it's just my life doesn't allow for that. But I would love to do that one day. And one day I might, when life gets a little bit easier on that front. More flexible.
I'll ask about that because I didn't know if you were going to bring it up about the fact that you do have kids and a family and that, and you're juggling the music career and raising kids at the same time. It was just one of the previous artists we interviewed the other week. Their musical partner has just had just given birth, and it's just the start of that journey. So, I guess how do you find now? I'm guessing. So, how old are your children, if you don't mind me asking?
7 and 1.
Wow, that's quite a good spread there.
Yeah.
So, how have you found over the last few years? Because you pretty much have released all your albums while you've had kids. Like, how do you find? What's the secret? I guess that's the best way of wording it. Secret to juggling children and a music career at the same time.
Yeah, I just work really fucking hard, and that's just it. Like, I'd really, it's insane. It's, I've always. There's no such thing as luck. I've worked my ass off, and I just, because I love it, it's not, it's easier to put in an obscene amount of hours into something that you love, so I just work all the time. It's hard. It is hard. I do burn myself out from it. And it is a juggle, and it's very hard to get balance. If things are going really well with your writing and your record, then, your family life might not be going that great because you're not available as much as you want to be. Or, if you're investing lots of time, being doing family stuff, then you're writing, you don't have the time to be writing. So it's a constant juggling act of just trying to, invest the right amount of time in the right areas.
The fly in, fly out thing must have helped with that, because at least, mummy isn't going to be away for too long. She'll be back soon.
Yeah. And it's a nice break, to be honest, to just get away and do some music. But I think, it was much easier with one because, leaving one behind isn't so hard. But 2, it is a little bit more challenging. But they're only little for a short amount of time. So and then they're doing things by themselves, and they're independent little beings. So you just with life, you just make things work. You just do, and you deal with what you've got, and you do it to the best of your ability. Really.
Do you find that you had to, I guess, I don't know how long you've been writing for, but did you find that with the onset of having children that you had to change your routine in terms of, songwriting? Like, I do my songwriting here, or your practice time is now, or it's like, this is mum's time, get out of the room so I can think. Like, has there been much of a switch, even as your kids are getting older?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot less writing, I would say, but what I have found is that I used to be a real night owl, and my brain would start, I'd feel like writing at night, and so I'd go and lock myself, the kids would go to bed, then I'd lock myself in a room and just write music. But now I have found that that's kind of changed, and I'm just buggered at night, and I just want to go to bed after being at work and getting the kids sorted. So I'm finding that I feel a bit more, inspired in the mornings, but I definitely have to make time. I have to. That's what I've found. With this album in particular, I joined a songwriting club, and that was really great. And you get given a task and it's a song and you've got a week to write this song, but you've only got an hour to kind of really put it together and record it just on your phone, and then your group, you kind of critique each other's songs. So that was great because it forced me, it was like a job, it forced me to show up every day and work a little bit on this song and do it and finish it, and, because you pay for the course as well. It's only $50, but you're more inclined to stick with it. So that helped because it was me scheduling time going, right, I have to finish the song, so everybody needs to leave me alone. Yeah.
Fair enough. It's got to crack the whip out, This is songwriting time. Got to get them lyrics out.
Yeah.
These rhymes don't write themselves.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool though, and it's good to get that sort of insight from somebody that's in that position. That might be different to a lot of other up and coming songwriters that haven't quite either not intending to go to that stage to have a family, or are not yet at that stage but will intend to. So it's good to see that other side of it and go, you can do it with all those commitments, and you can still put out really good material, and you can fit it in your schedule. So it's really cool to hear that.
Yeah, and I wish that I had heard it more when I started songwriting. I was very, women in the music industry revealing that they have children. It has never been a highly supported thing. So it was something that I put off. I had kids later because I just thought, how is it going to work? And I won't be able to do it. And I wish that, I had heard more, that there was more of a voice out there, because it is doable. You can do it. Life doesn't stop. It's achievable. You just got to work hard, and it's totally doable. So if anyone's thinking about if they're wanting a family and scared, don't be. You will make it work.
So is that going to? Because my next question was going to be, if you had one piece of advice to give, so I'm guessing that's your wisdom, bestowed upon the future generations.
That is it. Don't put it off. It is doable. Yeah, if you want it enough, you can do it.
All right. I always go for. There's one fallback question I always go for. If you had one genre that you haven't ever dabbled in that you would love to dabble in, what would it be?
Oh. Probably punk, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned that's a good segue, because you mentioned about being a mother and doing the music on it, as well as going to punk. There's actually a lady down here, a singer-songwriter down here in Melbourne called Kat O, who I know through the open mic scene for years, and she's started out this thing called Music Mamas, and it's her and basically any other singer-songwriters around town that are mothers as well as singer-songwriters, and they get together and do events and family-friendly events before COVID and that, like every month or so at different venues, like in the afternoon, on the weekend. They like sort of a showcase. But it'd be all family-friendly, so you can bring the kids along, bring the family along. So
cool.
It's an underrated job being a parent and a singer-songwriter at the same time. You don't see, as you say, it's not at the forefront of what a lot of people think that can be compatible, but you're showing that it can, which is really cool. And certainly really good advice, I think, that can be passed on for people that are thinking of starting a family but are not sure whether it will fit with their music.
Absolutely.
Let's talk, before we do play the next song, let's talk about, of course, where we can find your music, where we can listen to the album, what you've got, I guess, upcoming in the next few months, second wave up there, because you haven't had the second wave up in Queensland yet, so fingers crossed you don't. But I guess what your plans are if everything turns out all sunny and rainbows. Well, hopefully things do. I mean, I've got some shows coming up within Queensland in October, but I've had to cancel again a lot of the other shows that I was planning to do, and so I think once life goes back to normal, which it will at some point, I'm sure, is to just get out there and connect with people in different states, and hopefully do a trip over to the UK and kind of say g'day to some people over there as well. That's the hope. Have you actually toured overseas before?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, and
three albums in, it's, never too late.
yeah, that's right. And, I was born in England, so I've got a lot of family over there as well. So It kind of just makes sense to, while I've got, support with accommodation and things like that. It's a logical step for me to go and connect with other musicians more than anything over there.
I've heard that because you got unlike Australia where it's like one or two cities spread out over so far, there's a lot of different, see, they're small cities, but they've all got their own hub. Like Manchester's got its own music, sort of music tight-knit community. Liverpool's got its tight-knit community. Newcastle, obviously London, Birmingham, they're like all in a bubble, but they've all got their tight-knit communities and everyone knows everyone else. So you can travel, which are these really short distances. It's funny because I had a friend that did what you're planning to do, go over there to network, play a few shows, and he's mentioning, it's like, next city's like 45-minute drive away, and they're like, that's so long. And like, mate, that's how long it'd take me to drive across the city.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? And I think also over there, there's lots of genres. People, aren't just kind of focused on one genre. I think within Australia, it can get a bit, all consuming to one particular genre or one or two. Whereas, in other, like the UK and the USA, there's just so many different types of music that are really heavily supported by radio and people going to live shows. So it's, I think it's a bit easier to be a bit more experimental in those markets. Yeah.
What about the, I was going to say, are you intending at some point to go across to the US?
I would love to one day, but I don't know anyone over there, so I think it will be a lot more work for me to go somewhere like that because I don't have any connections over there to sleep on a couch or be connected with other people. So it's a bit more difficult. But one day I would love to. I'd love to go over there.
Didn't Black Betty hit the charts in the US? Like I'm pretty sure you could just drop Cram's name and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
Guess who's on my album? Remember that guy? Remember that singing drummer? No, not Phil Collins. No, the Aussie guy. Yeah. Black Betty.
Yeah, I should try that.
gotta know when to drop names, Yeah. No, I'm sure you will get around there, and I'm sure your music will be very well received. Obviously, where can we find all your music and where can we listen to the album?
Yep. So the album is for sale on both digital on iTunes, of course, and all the streaming services, so Spotify and Apple and Deezer and whatever your platform is that you choose to listen to it. And then you can buy physical copies, a CD, and a limited edition bright green vinyl, which is just beautiful. So that you can get those from my website, which is LeanneTenNant.com.
Yep.
And they're very, very beautiful looking record, and I was lucky to get some funding from Arts Queensland to assist with the costs of printing that. So
yes.
If you're a vinyl person, go grab yourself a copy.
So LeanneTenant.com, which I'm sure has the links to all your socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter.
Yes, it does.
Fantastic. Yep. Please go and check out the album when you get a chance, folks. Buy some merch. What have you got as far as merch is concerned?
I've got some really cool T-shirts that have been designed by the crew at the merch desk. And so you can – I think there's a link on my website to go to, which links to the merch desk as well. So the T-shirts are up on my site. But, they've been great, and it's kind of tackling it in a new way where I'm selling them at live shows, but it's via you scan a code.
Oh, the QR code thing?
That's right. And then it takes you to the site on your phone at the show, and then you can just order. You can order it basically there, and it gets delivered to your door.
I've got a friend who's been trying to berate me about that for my own stuff. He goes, no, QR codes are the future. It's like, okay, cool, whatever. But I mean, if you reckon it works, I might note that down and go, okay, things to do. Get a QR code.
Look, it is a different way of doing things, and people get scared about change, but the reason that we're trialing it is because it's just not feasible or sustainable for artists to keep buying thousands of, items of stock that sit on your shelf because you've ordered too many extra larges and, and it's just it's just silly. And it also means that because you're not having to fork out thousands and thousands of dollars to get all this merch printed, you can get lots of different designs. So, if you go on the website and there's just many, many different colours and designs and logos and all different things, which I wouldn't be able to afford to do if I had them all printed. So,
so it gives your fans and as that choice of being a consumer that can pick. So it is it's basically a pay to order sort of thing.
Yeah.
Made to order. Sorry, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. And so I mean, it's much, and plus you're not paying heaps in excess luggage carting around stock everywhere. So it is a much better way of doing it for both the artist and the consumer. But it's just, I guess, making people understand that it is better because it is a new way of doing things. So, or you can go to my website anytime and just order. So that's another way.
Please go to leannetennant.com and get yourself some made-to-order T-shirts and maybe a cheeky vinyl while you're there.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, before we do wrap it up, let's talk about the next track we're going to play, which we've mentioned before, record stores, which you said is something that people have sort of really appreciated as one of the standout tracks on the record, and for good reason too. Tell us a bit about perhaps if you want to go into a bit of the story behind the song or what you were thinking at the time when you wrote it.
So Record Stores is about the power of music and how it has the ability to really change someone's mindset in quite an instant. And I was having a bad day and I walked over to the record player and put on a record, and it instantly changed my mood and then therefore changed my day. And so later that day I wrote Record Stores about that. And it's just, I mean, music is so important and it's everywhere. It's in our lives all the time, even when you don't realize it. It's on call waiting, it's in elevators, it's on the TV, it's everywhere. And we play it at our weddings, play it at our funerals, our 18th birthdays, 21st. It's the soundtrack to our lives. And it
really is something a lot of people just take for granted without thinking.
Totally.
So there's people that say, "Oh, music isn't an essential
it is
thing."
Yeah,
it is.
So that's what that song is about: is record stores, and just me singing about. I've had a bad day, but I'll go into a record store and grab a record. Yeah,
it really is, and there is no hidden meaning behind that at all. It's a very on your sleeve sort of song because you're pretty much reciting the lyrics as you explain it. So it's great it's such a great song in terms of how direct it is, but at the same time how uplifting it is and reflective.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping with it. Like it's it's a bit of a sad song, but I wanted it to be powerful as well. So uplifting and hopeful. Yeah,
brilliant. Congratulations too on everything as well. Best of luck for the future. Hopefully, when you come down to Melbourne, we'll be more than eager to see some of these tracks played live. I'm really keen to get the chance to see that happen. So
I can't wait to get down there.
Please let us know when you are coming down too, and obviously follow Leanne's socials so you don't miss a single tidbit of information as everything hopefully goes back to normal in the next year. Leanne, thank you again so much for
thanks so much
for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat.
Worries.
You want to take us out on the song and take us out on the song.
Sure. So this is Record Stores and it's track 5, I think, of the album Happiness Is.
Oh no, it's number 4. Nearly good. One song off. That's okay. I wouldn't expect to know all my songs.
People will work it out.
people go look at the track. Buy the vinyl. Look at the back.
Exactly.
That's the whole reason. She doesn't need to remember it. That's why she writes it down. That's why it's on the back of the record.
Exactly.
So, what are people listening to? What show?
And you are listening to Bar Talk.
AustralianMusiciansRadio.com